Sportageous. Sport gets smarter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sportageous Videocast, where we bring you insights into the sporting world straight from athletes, sports biz, sports professionals, and more. On today's episode, our guest is Clint Vojdinoski, the founder of Bullpen Media, which involves Bullpen, a SportsTech editorial publication, and also provides communications and PR expertise to sports technology startups. Clinton is an expert in the arena, having advised and commentated on the sports technology ecosystem and the sporting space for a number of years. And it's also worth mentioning that we are very proud at Sportageous to be partnering with Bullpen now for a significant period of time. I think it's been over 6 or 7 months, but we will chat about that soon. Welcome to the show, Clint.
Zushan, thank you. What a nice introduction. Thank you for having me on. Yes, we have been working together for very much as COVID was definitely kicking in a bit. We thought we'd work with some editorial and some really nice projects together as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I think it's been fantastic working with you and the Bullpen as a whole, and being able to learn a lot on my end, to be completely honest, and then grow and understand things better. So it's been an absolute pleasure. But this isn't really about the relationship that we have. I really want to sort of get into a little bit about the sports tech world and, what your thoughts are, what you've been looking at. But starting off, let's talk a little bit more about Bullpen.
Yep.
What's going on? What do you have coming up this year? We're in 2021 right now. So, what's on the go, and what new things can we look forward to from Bullpen?
Yes, thank you. It's towards what I'm going to be launching into this year, into 2021, is I'm going to slightly adjust the editorial. At the moment, Bullpen does long-form text interviews with people across the sports tech startup ecosystem. As I move into 2021, that the allure of talking to more people, discussing more companies, talking about more emerging tech means that it is apparent, and it's a no-brainer, that I will move into a multimedia space where instead of text-based interviews, it'll be podcast, videocast, video, social media video, cover more ground. So it'll be a complete editorial shift with Bullpen, still maintaining the essence of what I want to do, which is spotlight sports technologies and startups and emerging tech and founders, but we'll move it into more of a multimedia space and cover more ground.
Yeah, right. And that's really interesting, because obviously there is that shift across media through and through, everywhere you go. I sort of understand, but I want your insights on why you've decided to sort of move to that area.
Cover more ground is one. The amount of interesting voices and obviously the voices and the technologies and the solutions that are occurring in sport or in media, fitness, digital fitness, and so many other little strands that come off sport as a whole. The idea is scale. If the more people I speak to, the more I can cover, the more voices you can integrate, the more things you can expose to audiences as well. So the idea is, I always believe that people should know about these companies or these founders or these solutions. So if I can cover more ground by developing more video, more multimedia, more audio, I feel I can actually cover more, just deliver more content. It's about delivering more content in a scalable way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think having been doing that for a while ourselves, we've seen the benefits of having that diversity in the sort of mediums that we use. And I think it's going to make Bullpen's content very, very exciting. And, I already read your stuff, but I'll definitely be tuning in as well now to the various different multimedia platforms you have. And just a shout out to everyone watching or listening, wherever you are watching or listening, be sure to go check out Bullpen's website, go follow Bullpen on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are, LinkedIn. And if you ever have any sports tech ideas or you're working on something, get in touch with Clint. We'll put all the details wherever you're tuning in from, and be sure to get out and follow the stuff because it's some great content. Clint, let's take a trip down memory lane now, because obviously we've talked about the future and you've got all this exciting stuff coming up.
Sure.
Let's talk about Bullpen in 2020. We, of course, have done a multitude of features collaboratively and worked on quite a few things together. But what have been some of the highlights for you in terms of the content that Bullpen has produced, some of the companies and sports tech startups that you've worked on and sort of highlighted?
Oh, wow. It's a good question. Overall, overall Bullpen, I did about roughly 70 to 80 interviews this year. And now I'm thinking, okay, working back, what are some interesting ones? I guess you could rattle off some of the interesting ones, but I might even group, maybe theme some of them actually. What I've covered more of is been more fitness tech, more digital fitness. You know, I covered companies like Onyx, Uplift Labs, FitTrack. Those definitely spring out in my Fun with Balls as well. That's more of the digital gaming. They've got the squash and the tennis, and that's more of a fitness thing where it digitizes fitness. There's at-home solutions. Those spring out. There's been some really interesting things where I'm just thinking of some of the companies I've covered. Team sports is another one where, which is more, everything is centered. I've noticed one thing is that everything's centered around using your phone to be able to drive your fitness and your fitness goals, using AI to be able to monitor and track your movement, offer up suggestions and improvements. So that seems to be the recurring theme. I'm thinking of some other memorable interviews. I think it's always just nice just listen to different voices and people. You know, you cover startups from the Middle East, from Israel. You know, we talked to Pika. You and I, we both did a piece on Harmony. Yeah. So you know, he was a good lad, Mohammed, as well. So it's been. Then he talked to me from Germany, the US. I think it's just the highlights is diversity and people always thinking and tweaking and offering up and thinking about solutions. That's in the startup space. Some of the other ones is talking to Conduct CEO, Synergy Sports CEO, and they're at the other end of the spectrum where, wow, they're leading these very, very big companies. And you know, you get that 20 minutes to talk about just how they think a little bit. How do they lead? Leadership is something where, especially at a time where it is the industry, everything we're in is in a state of flux. So that's a highlight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has been it was quite a year last year. And in spite of that, so much innovation, so many things going on. You touched on companies like Multiballs, who we've also talked to, but on the interactive squash front and sort of what they're doing there. There was Harmony, of course, who we worked on together. A range of others, like you bring, like you're completely right. Now that I'm thinking back, I struggle to pinpoint any one particular organization, startup, because everyone's so brilliant, innovative, so much going on. And I think that, you know, that sort of makes me wonder, having been in this space for a significant amount of time, having looked at sports technology, emerging tech, what are your thoughts on, you know, let's look back at the highlights of sports technology more from a sort of general level, considering that, you know, this was the most unique year in entrepreneurship in the modern age. And because of that, you know, in 2020, people had to do, you know, virtual meetings. You know, there were virtual accelerators, things that had never been done before, engagement and content. You know, like we at Sportageous saw a huge boost in the sort of audience that we had because of the pandemic. So what are some of the key insights that you can provide to our viewers or listeners in regards to 2020, and what sort of been the highlight in the sports tech world?
Interesting thing is, especially between March to June last year, one of the things is sports rights holders who've always circled around gaming had decided just to jump in. And then the idea is, once you jump into gaming, is how do we broadcast it? How do we deliver really interesting content around it? How do we integrate teams and athletes, and then a bit of the grassroots? So what the pandemic, what COVID-19 taught sports is it really faced up to how complacent a lot of rights holders and a lot of other clubs, franchises really are, and how very few revenue streams they have. Things that they might have experimented with in 2016, 17, 18, into 2019, something you're circling around and considering, you got thrown into the deep end and you had to do it. You had to think of digital engagement solutions, gaming, utilizing your assets, utilizing archives. You had to think of things that it was always this nice to have, but now we have to. And it forced it in. It forced it in a matter of weeks. That's one thing. So gaming is one. That was one of the big ones. I mean, and obviously 2020. It's probably it will always look back as a year that fitness changed so dramatically. Digital fitness, at-home fitness. You look at companies like Apple. You just released Apple Plus in December, or Apple Fitness, sorry. You look at Peloton and Tonal and all of these companies that were bubbling on at the $100 to $500 million mark and now breaking $1 billion, knowing that 2020 will be the year that digital fitness broke through like in spades.
Yeah, right, absolutely, and I think it was inevitable considering the situation, how things were.
Again, it's when you look back like 2015, 16, 17, we'd use, we might use a little bit of athlete tracking or a bit of our own personal fitness tracking. We might grab some data off our Strava or something if we went for a ride or a run. Now it might be the most second nature thing that we have, as in how we train at home, how we train on the streets, how we train in the gym, everywhere, or bringing the gym into our own home as well. So I think we'll probably look back as this is a turning point year of fitness.
Yeah, sure. And, that's I guess, a bit more on the fitness tech side of things and, digital, gym training at home and innovative solutions to sort of maintain your fitness and so on. But here's a question that I have for you, and it's something that I've thought a lot about as well, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
You look at, what you touched on earlier, rights holders, big franchise sports organizations and so on, and their willingness or their lack of willingness to engage with younger, more innovative, creative sports tech startups that would probably not even have been feasible in 2019. Is that something that's become a lot more prominent over the course of 2020?
It's a really good question. It's what a lot of clubs and franchises, generally you need your evangelist within a club or a franchise or a rights holder to know that this is a solution that is necessary. I think it's what 2020 showed was this, we need something. We need something. How well, I think it was something like even going back 2018, 19, I think a number of clubs recognize that you probably have to have a closer link to startups or to accelerators. 2020 proved that you have to be working in sync to young creators, younger startups, and to think pretty much to only think digitally. And that's, you can only think that way now. It'll be hard to enter stadiums. Even stadium solutions have to be digital as well. So it's the year where it should. 2020, you've looked back at the years, the year that it probably jolted a lot of complacency. Whether though we learn from that as we go from this year onwards, 2021 onwards, whether we learn from that is going to be an interesting thing. So it's I think it's again, it's about, I think, clubs need that evangelist in-house, but whether it's whether they will actually carry on into 2021 or not. I don't know. I think it's one of those to be continued kind of things. I think also a lot of clubs struggle with the idea of maybe they think digital transformation is a difficult thing, or they think it's overawing, or maybe they only dip the toe in ever so slightly. I'm kind of a bit hazy on that, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting point, Clint, that you bring up, and I think it's perfect to sort of wrap up our discussion as well, because we've sort of been looking at, past, present, and future throughout the course of this chat. Okay, so let's say that, you're a little bit hazy on how this will continue, but what is it that you're sort of really looking forward to? What are what's the target that your eyes are on for this year and the future, considering everything that's happened in the sports tech world that we've sort of summarized, or you summarized in the last 15 or 20 minutes? What is it that you're looking at as sort of, this is the thing to keep an eye out on, and, the go-to in terms of growth, in terms of engagement within the sports tech world in 2021 and beyond?
Ooh, there's the little strands in growth areas is going to be, it'll definitely be in that confluence of the content, communications, gaming, fan engagement areas. So those are 4 little strands and nodes, but those are the areas that clubs should be looking at investing in, investing in. People aren't going to be going to stadiums feasibly. Maybe in Australia, we might be a little bit more fortunate, but you can never be too complacent. But if you're looking at various other countries around the world that, can't go to a stadium, so how do you deliver a interesting digital fan engagement solution, better content, better involved communications? So I think that is going to be they're the areas that excite me, but they're the areas that clubs have to recognize. And once you recognize that, then you can bring in your sponsorship and your merchandise and your branding opportunities as well. So that's the growth area. It's whether that is what I feel is a growth area. It's whether clubs will actually go with that as well, or rights holders or franchises and so forth. So that confluence of digital communications, content, add your gaming, add your fan engagement in, and then bring your sponsors in with that as well. You have to be going fully digital. You have to. You can't rely on analog streams of analog revenue, which is match day revenue and hospitality, which is generally the lifeblood of a lot of these clubs. So it's what I'm bullish on. Yet I know that it's still something that clubs are super reliant on, as it is, the match day and the hospitality.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting period ahead that we have with all these changes and innovations and everything coming up. Look, Clint, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I look forward to seeing everything that Bullpen comes up with in this new year. And once again, to everyone watching, listening, wherever you're tuning in, be sure to go into the description and check out everything Bullpen related, and get in touch with Clint if you have something sports tech available on offer. And Clint, thanks again, mate, and looking forward to what you have coming up in this year.
Thank you so much for having me, Zushan. Look forward to looking at all the rest of your content for the rest of the year as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks.